Hey Sainers, welcome to a special Anzac Day edition of Saints TV Weekly. I just want to take this quick moment to acknowledge the Australians that have made the ultimate sacrifice, and the past, in the present, and the emerging that have given us our freedom and this amazing country that we live in right now in this very moment. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget. Okay, so yes, it's Anzac Day, it's Monday, it's a big day, but it has been a big week of Saints footy on and off the field, so let's get straight into it. Friday night football, prime time, a slot that we're not generally pretty good at. We generally like to cough up wins and give away big opportunities on Friday nights, and we did that in round one against Collingwood. But this Friday night we didn't. Our form continues. We've won our fifth in a row. Our longest stretch of wins since 2011 after the bye, and the first time that we've started a season 5-1 since 2010, and you guessed it, we made the grand final that year. So it all bodes pretty well. GWS regained Toby Green. They needed to stand up for their coach under pressure. They were going into the game 1-4 and struggling big time. And we were the favourites, and we're not very good when we're favourites, but lately we've come to be pretty confident with the footy club, and that gave us the confidence in the end. We won by 17 points, 60-77. It wasn't the cleanest game, it was a slog, and we knew it was going to be like that. But our boys stood up. You know, the first quarter we started really well and just didn't take our opportunities going forward and missed a few big chances. Max King finished with 1 goal, 7, and Jack Higgins was potentially the match winner, along with Josh Batter, who we'll talk about, and Higgins kicked 4 goals, 3. But the key thing out of this game, It was some devastating news to Jack Hayes. It looks like he's done his ACL and he's out for the season. But another really good news for Jack Hayes, the club is going to work on a contract ASAP to get him signed so he can focus on just his rehabilitation, get his body right for next season, knowing that he will be a St Kilda player until at least the end of 2023, which is amazing news. And kudos to the club for jumping on that quickly and taking that stress away from Jack Hayes. On top of that, Rowan Marshall had a big corky, so the second half of the game he couldn't really finish it off. But Josh Battle was thrown into the ruck, and we conceded 51 hit-outs to 1, I think, in the second half. But Josh Battle, what he lacked in terms of tap work, he helped us, in terms of when the ball hit the deck and the ground ball work. So Josh Battle was probably, I think he was the dare saner of the game, rightly so, because he played in a position he's hardly played in. He was taking on some very good ruckmen. Bruce was in very good form on Friday night and could have been the difference in the end, but Josh Battle just battled very, very well, no pun intended. And that was a big part as to why we won, as well as Jack Higgins and just the back line in general, just being very, very good and just standing firm with all of the late surges from GWS in that last quarter. But that takes us to 5-1. I think we're in 4th position on the AFL ladder. We may actually go down a position at the end of this round if Sydney win by a lot against Hawthorn, which you never know. It could be a tight game up in Launceston. And hopefully, Hawthorn win that game and we can stay in the top 4. But if not, we'll be 5th, which is fine because we're one game off top spot and percentage. So we're going very well. Good to get the win, and now we move on to Port Adelaide on Saturday night in Cairns. In terms of Sandringham news, they finished off with a late surge as well in a draw 8-11 apiece against GWS. Apparently they were 20 points down in the final term, and they made a late surge and drew level and couldn't quite get the win, but they got the draw in the end. And best players, Sharman kicked 3, that was his best performance of the season. Dean Kent kicked 2, Bytel, Heath and Lowe 1 apiece. Best on ground, I believe, was Burns. He had 32 disposals and 11 clearances, if you don't mind. Massive performance on his part. Blake Watson, 23 disposals, 11 tackles, 10 clearances. And Jack Bytel, 21 disposals and 5 clearances as well. So overall, really good performance from a lot of these young kids that are fighting for a spot in the lineup. And it's going to be interesting to see this week with Windhager potentially on the way out for a rest to be managed, whether that opens up the door for Ryan Burns or a Bytel or even a Mitch Owens who was managed this week. And then you lose Jack Hayes. Does that mean it's just Paddy Ryder that comes straight in, or is it a Cooper Sharman? So the VFL is performing pretty well at the moment. The last couple of weeks they've been really good, and that creates a lot of pressure for spots in the first. And that's just, you want a good VFL team when your AFL team's going well. And right now we're getting the balance right, and we're getting a lot of these young kids getting good minutes at Sandy. But most importantly, they're getting good experience and they're clocking in some good performances that could get them back into the first team ASAP. So it's good to see Burns, Bytel and Sharman in particular performing really, really strongly at VFL level. In terms of some random trade news, you might have seen on the Saints TV feed last week, I think it was Thursday night, I broke some news about Karl Amon. And if you haven't seen the post, this is what I said. Karl Amon wants out of Port Adelaide. He's twice requested a trade to St Kilda in the last 5 years. He's a restricted free agent. He also grew up a Saints fan, and his mum also currently works at the club. He's told Port Adelaide, supposedly this week, that he's interested in exploring his options at the end of the season. And they did, apparently they did drop him going into the game on the weekend, but I watched it and he did play. So I think he must have been the emergency, or he was a late in. I can't remember exactly what happened, but he was an out as of Thursday night. They must have changed the teams on the Friday, because I think they played Saturday or Sunday. So interesting news there. It'd be very handy to have him. I don't think he's an absolute priority for us. I think he's also kind of a Jack Billings type, very clean with the footy, can play on the outside, and just complements our inside work really well, but he can get around the goals, and he's in All-Australian form. I think he might have made the All-Australian team or squad last year. I can't quite remember, but he's definitely picked up his game, and for a guy that's known as more of an outside player, I think he's averaging about 7 tackles a game, which works perfectly for our pressure game, but he's also got some very good foot skills on the outside with his trusty left foot, and that's obviously something that Brett Ratton would like very much as well. And he's a Saints fan. Oh, he was a Saints fan growing up, and we're full of those with Jack Higgins, Zach Jones, all these sort of guys, Max King as well. So you can't get too much Saints love in the lineup, and that'd be another one at the end of the year. If it didn't cost too much, I think we'd definitely be exploring, because it's been requested before. We've looked at getting him before, and it just hasn't worked out. And the way Port Adelaide's going, there might be a few players that are looking around and seeing, what other clubs can they go to, and if they're performing and making finals, it's a good time to get on board. So that'd be one that I'll definitely keep an eye on, and I'll report more to you guys if I hear anything else in the coming weeks. Now for some questions. This is a very quick Saints TV weekly. I know that it's Anzac Day, so it's a big important day, and this is probably the last thing you guys are going to be watching because there's so much going on today and you're spending time with your family and friends, which is great. But we've got some questions, so let's get through them now. Let's see what some Sainers are asking and see if I can answer the questions. This one's from Milo, I think. Do you think Cooper Sharman will play this season? Yes. I think he will play sooner rather than later. I think with Jack Hayes going down, I think it opens up the door a little bit. And if Rowan Marshall doesn't get up with the corky this week, it could well be Paddy Ryder come in. It could be Max Heath debuting. It could be Cooper Sharman coming in and chopping out. We don't know. But he'll definitely get some games this season for sure. Tim's asking, Battle reminds me of Fisher in his prime. Thoughts? Big call. Sam Fisher was an absolute superstar. All-Australian, I believe, a couple of times. Best and fairest winner as well, I think. So there's a bit there for Josh Battle to aspire to, but his form's going fantastically. Right now, he'd be one of the form centre-half backs in the competition, and he's one of the more versatile players in AFL football at the moment. So we've got a very good one in Josh Battle. I think he's a bit more physical than Sam Fisher, but he's got all the traits of being a very, very good intercept marking defender, just like Sam Fisher was. George is asking, how will King bounce back from this week's performance? I don't think he needs to do too much, to be honest. I think if you look at the shots that Kingy had, I reckon 3 or 4 of them were snaps on a fairly tight angle that are probably 40% chance of getting most weeks, and he didn't get them. He did hit the post from 55, and then I think his goal was pretty directly in front. But you look at his performance, I don't think every shot he had should have been a goal. I think we would have taken 3 goals 4 or 4 goals 3. He kicked 1 goal 7, but he was never going to kick 7 goals straight or whatever people are expecting. With some of the shots that he was taking, they were tough shots, and I think he was probably rushing a bit. But the good thing was he was still going for his marks, and he still had how many shots on goal? 8 or 9 shots on goal in a game, which is ridiculous. He's going to have a game where he goes nuts. And to answer your question, how will he bounce back? I think just bounce back with a good bag of 4 or 5 on the weekend, kick straight, and the Sainers get the 4 points, and that's exactly what we want. But the best thing is he had 8 shots. He only kicked 1 goal. We were inaccurate all night, and we still came away with a trusty, a handy 17-point win against an opposition that has been down this year, but they lifted and had their star player back, and it was away from home, and we had injuries and no rucks. So that says a lot about the performance. Bloody gutsy performance. This one's from Nathan. Do you think we are genuine contenders, or do we have to beat Melbourne or Geelong first? I don't think we need to beat Melbourne or Geelong. I'd like to think we can beat Geelong the way they're going, because it's at Marvel and they're not been in the best form. Melbourne, I just want to challenge. I don't care if we win or lose. I just want to give them a tough game. I want it to feel like a final. Whether they win by 5, 10, 15 points or more, it doesn't bother me. I want us to run them ragged. And if we can win the next game against Port, we go into the Melbourne game 6-1. That's almost nothing to lose at that point. Put all your chips on that game and give it a red hot shake. And I think that's what we'll do. So I don't think we need to beat them, but I'd like to think that we should beat Geelong, and whether we challenge Melbourne or not, they're the form team and they're 6-0 for a reason, so it'll be a tough game, but I'm really looking forward to it in a couple of weeks' time. Toby's asking, do you think the Port match is a real danger match? I'm a bit worried. Every match is a danger match. I've always said that every win, you're a step closer to your next loss, and we've won 5 in a row. It's like Melbourne. If Melbourne win again this week, they'll be 7-0 going into the game against us. Even Melbourne fans would think, we're not going a whole season undefeated. We have to lose at some point. It could well be to St Kilda today. We don't know. That's like us. We've won 5 in a row. At some point, we might drop a game. I'd like to think this week we beat Port. They played West Coast, who are basically the shittest team in the comp at the moment. I think we're a big shout of winning that game the way we're going, and we'll get players back. Zachy Jones could come back. Paddy Ryder will come back. We'll regain some star power for sure, and we've got confidence going. We've got momentum, and that's something that Melbourne have got, even when they're playing badly. Like, they didn't play great yesterday against Richmond, but they got the job done because they have a system that works and they back their players, and eventually they'll kick the goals to win the game. And that's what they did, despite being incredibly inaccurate, just like we were on Friday night. We both found a way, and I'd like to think the Port game, even if it is a danger game, we find a way, because the danger games are the ones that count the most. And we got through one against GWS. The Port game, I see no different. It's exactly the same sort of prospect in terms of being a danger game, but I'd like to think we can get the win, and then go to Melbourne 6-1, which would be amazing. There you have it, Sainers. That is Saints TV Weekly. Thank you all for sending in your questions. I hope you all have a great day. Enjoy your Anzac Day. Big game ahead against Collingwood and Essendon later today, which is always a good watch. And I'll be watching the Hawthorn-Sydney game keenly. Barracking for Hawthorn, I think, in this one. We want them to win so Sydney don't go above us. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow night. Podcast, it'll drop. Me, Marshy, Joycey, as always. And then Thursday, Friday, obviously the Saints TV preview for round 7 against Port Adelaide. And then Saturday night, right after the game, on Facebook, I'll be back for the live review to dissect, hopefully, another win, our 6th win on the trot, which would be, I think, a record in a good 10, 15 years, maybe since 09. I think we won maybe 6 in a row in 2011, maybe once, and 2010 probably, and definitely 09. So it's been a while since we've won 6 in a row, but hopefully we can get the job done, and I'll be back on Saturday night for my live review. Until then, guys, take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your Anzac Day and the rest of your week, and I'll see you very soon on the Saints TV channels. Take care, and go you mighty Sainers. See you guys.